Hi you guys, it's Brittany from Group 1. I actually just had surgery 2 days ago, so if I sound like a complete nutbag and I need to re-record this, or if you need clarification for anything that I say in this video, please let me know. And my dog is whining in the background. I don't know what, she's yelling at the rainstorm we're having going on here. So, alright, like I said, I'm from Group 1, and the first question is describe the relationship between life-sustaining functions and the demographics. First, life-sustaining functions. It's just everyday life, everything we need to do to get through everyday life. That means from brushing our teeth, to doing laundry, to cooking dinner, making breakfast, walking to work, or driving to work. These are just everyday things that we need to do and have to do. Everyone does it. But these everyday things that we have to do, according to White, on page 63, he says that the very life-sustaining functions that individuals must perform may put them at risk of exposure to life-threatening toxins. The water we drink, the food we eat, the air we breathe, walking past the landfill, the water we use to brush our teeth, the places where we buy our food. These are all things that are potentially killing us. But who is it killing exactly? The demographics that are overwhelmingly at higher risk are African American, Latino, and Native American people. And also, these are also the same people who are of lesser financial means, who also live in poor neighborhoods. Why is that? When you have less education or less financial backing, you can't, have those fancy white-collar jobs and be CEO. You have to take the factory job where you're working 14 hours a week for low pay. You are exposed to hazardous chemicals and strenuous work hours, and you don't get benefits, and that's your only option. So you work as much as you can, as hard as you can, for as little pay as you're offered. The people, some of the, a lot of the factory jobs and are located in their neighborhoods. People of lower means in their neighborhoods. You would never see a landfill in 90210 or on Park Avenue in New York. Like, these are just places you will not see them. But in the poor neighborhoods where poor people live, that's where you find these things. So they are often exposed to different risks that just the average, normal, everyday person or a person of higher education, higher means is not exposed to. A couple of the things that stood out to me in this reading were a few of the facts. People of poor means and people of color often consume more contaminated air, food, and water. So their supply of just basic necessities is almost always contaminated. 3 out of every 5 Black or Latinos lives in a community of uncontrolled toxins. 96% of African American children who live in inner cities have unsafe amounts of lead in their blood, compared to 47% of white children. African Americans have a 37% greater chance of suffering an occupational injury or illness. That is a 20% chance, which is a 20% greater chance of them dying from said injury or illness. So this just shows that, sorry about the rustling of all the paper, that just shows that, this isn't happening in in nicer neighborhoods and people who have educations, and they're often screwed over because they don't have any more options. Our second question was, according to Bookchin, what is the role of utopian visioning for creating an ecological society? I had a little trouble with answering this question, and I'm not even sure that I've that I answered it well enough, so I had to pretty much break it down and define each part of it in order to understand it a little bit better. The definitions, I got these definitions from dictionary.com, so I kept it pretty basic. Utopia is often described as an ideal place or state or visionary system of political or social perfection. Ecology is a branch of biology dealing with organisms or people and their environments, institutions. So basically what I got from that is, what is the most visionary system of political and social perfection to create a balance between people and their environment. So basically, what is the best system that we can create to have a balance between everything? A few things there are about 4 or 5 things that really stood out to me that Bookchin mentioned. One way he says that we have to definitely change our language from saying humanity and individuality, because it gives the impression that our answers will be drawn from the social world, and that we should definitely change our wording to civilization, because it has broadened the terrain of freedom. Civilization is very inclusive. Culture, industry, nature, science, education, government, people. So it would be a much better way of looking at the situation, changing the language and looking at the situation as very, like, a lot more inclusive. He also brings up that we have a modern emphasis on independence and individuality. On page 322, he says that we need to adapt to a more generous distribution of system to our society. There is a high level of stinginess of people, and we're all about our personal needs and personal wants. On page 328, he says that, and this is of course a nod to all of my feminists out there, I was a women's studies minor, that women are to be totally liberated from all patriarchal constraints, which I'm all for. So that's another way of helping to become a more ecological society. On page 340, he says that we must try to create a new culture, not merely another movement that attempts to remove the symptoms of our crisis without affecting their sources. We must try to eradicate the hierarchical orientation of our psyches. Not merely the institutions, but social domination. Basically, we just need to redo our culture in general, which will be incredibly hard, but I think that he did a lot of, when I was reading what he was saying, I'm sorry about the and ahhing, guys, I'm kind of out of it, blame the medicine. I saw so much of Leopold and in his views as far as his land ethics. I think that Bookchin is a bit more raw and more real about this, this, and less poetic. So I just think that the development of our culture depends a lot on changing the individual and not making it so much of a me, what I want, what I need, and we need to definitely look at it as a whole. Like I said before, I had some trouble answering this question. If anybody can give me any feedback or any thoughts or any ideas on how to, I guess, understand this reading in a different way, I'm all for it. But I tried the best I could. Just let me know what you guys think. I am Brittany, and this is week 3, group 1. Thanks.